spirituality. So what we do is we assume that must not have been a good thing, whatever. If you can begin to be higher mind, observe, choose, act, and don't leap on the emotion or the judgment of, or the, oh, this must mean, you're going to start to find, like that example, another part of the truth that wasn't seen in the, oh, I must have made a mistake. As soon as you step into that energy, you can't see that level of your truth, of why that happened. So I'm just taking advantage of your situation to make that point. Does that make sense? So big things are happening. But those stratas, a lot of who you are is simply just falling away. But those great lifetimes, they're just beginning to be sitting there waiting. That's why this fourth dimension, a higher fourth dimension for a number of you, are going to be really difficult. Now, you heard the word right, but just like the example I just gave Jeannie, you didn't hear the meaning right. Difficult being beautiful, elegant. I'd like an apple and the apple appears. I'd like a house on the edge of the cliff overlooking the beach, the lagoon with the dolphins that I can go down and swim with every day, and the grand Tetons in the Alps in my backyard. And somebody's going to say, it's time to go to the 5th, 6th, 7th, 9th, 157th dimension. Are you ready? No. Now do you understand difficulty? I'd like my nose to be a little different. No problem. So in that higher fourth dimension, I keep it real simple, dinner party. But it is vast and deep, and it's really huge, and that's a stepping stone. To a great extent, most of you are beyond that place. And as great as that is, what's next makes this look like just a moment of events. So very, very fabulous things that are sitting right in front of you. So, what else you want to know? Dave?
Can you tell me about money and spirituality?
Money and spirituality.
Yep.
It was an easy one.
I'm not being funny. Money and spirituality. At what strata do you want the answer? Now, I'm not being funny, because here money still has relationship to lack and control. As you begin to play in this upper fourth dimension, it has very little value other than a intermediary means of barter. And it dissipates depending on the layer of the higher fourth dimension you go into, because trust and cooperation and co-creation and the belief that everything just kind of flows, just like you'd like it all to be, happens because there's a maturity and a responsibility. You have a sense of that identity. I used this example somewhere the other day. I don't remember if it was in a class or not. At that level, if you see $1 fall out of somebody's pocket on the floor, or at this level, you pick it up and put it in your own pocket out there. But or maybe you give it back to them. But what if it was a $10 bill? What if it's a $100 bill? Where is that point of the appropriate thing is to hand it back to that person? You see where I'm going. And I know it belongs to this person. In that level, you will walk 50 miles to say you dropped this into the supermarket. It's not yours. Does that make sense? It's in that mindset that money and spirituality take on a very different dynamic that has nothing to do with control and domination of a game, a species, an entire world. Is that an okay answer? No, I mean now. I want it now. When am I going to have money now?
I'm trying to understand, I guess, the teaching and all that. I'm trying to get like a mental, how does it work?
Well, the teaching, I can't say it any more clearly. And that simply is not right and wrong, not good and bad, not should and shouldn't, appropriateness. Does that make any sense? Right here, I know what's appropriate in that $1 bill, $10, $100 bill laying on the floor, and what's not appropriate. Does that make sense? You know that internal alignment. And that's where this shift begins to take place. And part of the shift is, I know what's appropriate, but I'm going to put it in my pocket anyway. I know what's appropriate, and I'm going to walk the 50 miles. Which side of the line do you choose to live? It's when you make that choice of walking the 50 miles. And it's cold and it's rainy and it's a really crummy day and you're going, what the hell am I doing? I'm wet and I'm miserable, to give this guy back his dollar bill. Is the lesson, that's the lesson, but is the, you're now going to go to heaven and the skies open up for you, happen right then? No. But does that lesson have a foundation that then goes further? And that's the shift. That, I mean, that's as clear as I can make it. That's what the shift is. So, anybody else? Is this okay? Alan?
Is there a point where our creations all look the same? In other words, pink diamond. Everybody's pink diamond looks different in the heart. Is there a point where our creation of that is we're in total agreement? You know what I'm saying?
Yes, and I'll say it this way. When you start to get into this harmonic resonance, this appropriateness, this agreement, it doesn't happen it doesn't happen here. It doesn't happen right now. So I might give back the dollar bill, you might, but I might keep the $5 bill. But you won't keep the $5 bill, and you won't keep the $10 bill, and you won't keep the $100 bill. My threshold's at $5, so, well, too bad for you. Okay. So we're not in the same place there. But the next day, there's a dollar bill there, and I give it back. And so the baseline starts to get established that we're all doing the same thing. And it's like one of those little graphs that go up and down like this. You're up here, but I haven't gotten it yet. But as the whole elevation occurs in the shift, we all get it, we all get it, we all get it, we all get it at these layers. But do we all get it at the same time? No. And so what will happen is the pink diamond, to all the people playing in the classes in front of you, they haven't even heard that word, pink diamond, for months and years. It's a state of consciousness. It's the place where you know that appropriateness. You live in that space, but you got it. And everybody else that's working on it, they'll get it when they get it. And then you go to this next level. And then they go to this, then they get it. And then pretty soon, as a group, you just kind of keep moving up at the top. Everybody's doing this. Some people are down here. But the whole, all of you are just moving into this state of consciousness. Does that help answer the question? Yeah.
Thank you.
You can't do it wrong. It's just progressing right along. Somebody else?
This is a question about the last class we had, the 12.
12,
where
okay.
you were talking about the stickiness.
Yes.
And we where we went into I like me.
Yes.
With the stickiness, and I really love that exercise. Initially, it popped me back into my body. I was on my side of the rows, but then as I wanted to go a little further with it, I went to
Anybody notice as soon as she says wanted to, I wanted to, leaning forward, wanting, yeah, and then it didn't happen.
Yeah, but it was harder for me to keep the I like me. It was like,
do you all know the answer to the question? I moved. I stepped into the stickiness. Now, not stickiness, oh no.
Right.
This, what you put your attention on, whether I resist it or I love it, I moved. I wanted.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with wanting. It's the movement. And then as you move, as soon as you make that little bit of lean, you lose access to that level of consciousness.
Got it.
Perfect. That's why I keep saying,
Light bulb.
don't move, don't move, don't move. And you'll get it, and then, oh no, now I get it, and then you keep getting it. Does that answer the question?
Yes.
Oh, good, good. Who else? Some of you who are not, you know, this is your weekend, the MA10 folks, ask questions.
I have a question about the channeling. I was wondering why you get messages from Uriel and the other master, the other ascended
Archangels, yeah.
archangels through another person and not face to face with them in your sleep time.
No, I do it 3 ways. Face to face, like right now I ask a question and I get an answer. There's
Yeah,
lots
I
of them
heard
here in this
that.
room. In the sleep space, it's this vivid and more.
So what is the value of getting it through another person?
They want a piece of information recorded that was taken off the planet at the time of Atlantis.
Oh,
It's now coming back on.
oh,
The
so
simple version of the,
specific information
yes,
is coming through?
the blending of science and spirituality into one, using the rays of creation as the creator presented them to the creator gods in the first place. So there'll be a point you're right at. In fact, you should have already gotten a couple of those.
We did.
Yeah, so that's the beginning piece of where Uriel was saying, let me tell you how creation unfolded and how the fall of consciousness happened. So that's kind of setting you up there, and you've gotten the references to the 4th, 5th, and 6th ray.
Now that particular piece of information I've heard before, and I don't know where I've heard it.
I don't know. So we'll talk about the rays, but the purpose of that is, what they've said is, we want you to write this book, or we want you to teach this. Well, it was really, at the beginning, it was more of, what I heard was, you know, make this available to people. But what you have all gotten was not what they expected would actually happen either, as they say it. You're getting something that they really wished would happen but didn't have a belief, or wrong words, they didn't have, the probability of it happening was considerably small. And so you all said, it wasn't me, it was you, all said, we want to go there. And so you created the container. I just got to open my mouth. It had very little to do with me. It has everything to do with you. And so out of that, these recordings and the teaching of the 4th, 5th, and 6th ray, and then the 8th ray became really interesting. And now we're into the 9th, 8th, 9th, and 10th in a very different dynamic. Out of that is why they now said, we want to teach this for you. And you're going to get things that are, I think, are going to just be really astonishing. I mean, they blow me away. I don't know how you respond. My mouth drops open half the time. What else?
Just raise my hand because I know both questions. I'm not sure.
Just let them blurt out. You'll understand blurt out tomorrow.
I'm
or next day.
trying to formulate this. I work in the corporate world, and so it's like kind of another world in a sense.
Yeah.
And I have, for some years, I've been in that kind of environmentally, kind of a different position now, and I struggled a lot. Struggled with overwhelm and, oh, this is too much, and I want to be back in the healing field, and no. And the interesting thing is, earlier in the program, I remember you talking about how, how things, just, stuff was up. Like, I felt kind of like socially really awkward.